Leave your comments on the Ask Reddit sub, and I'll read your answers on the next episode of LWIAR. Are you afraid of dying? If so, why? I think I'd just be disappointed. My life has gotten to a place I enjoy. After struggling for a long time, it would suck to die after all the hard work. At the beginning of this month I finally realized I enjoyed my life. I'm not just living to live. I actually like my life and don't want things to go away. And now I have so much anxiety it's hard to actually enjoy life. Why are our brains so fricked? Edit *. A lot of people are asking about therapy. I don't think I need that quite yet. I felt this way about 13 years ago before I got my first dog. And now those ideas are coming back as she gets close to passing. It's been a month and reducing in severity. If I wasn't getting better, I would sign up for therapy of some sort. Anything in particular that got you to the point that you enjoy life instead of just living to live? I had to change my whole mindset. It's not easy and there'll always be the grind. But I'm honestly at the point where I can say that I'm happy with the way my life has been. For starters, stop looking at life as a competition. Life isn't about seeking out the most money, the largest social circles, the most internet points, or the nicest house. You don't need to grind your way to the most impressive job. Find something that you enjoy doing instead, even if it means working for a little less pay than your peers. Take up a hobby or find something you enjoy doing, and then find another, and another, one at a time of course. Keep finding new experiences that you like and get engaged in it as much as possible. It doesn't have to be anything crazy or expensive. Try out camping and hiking. Go for walks on the beach. Get into tinkering with building something. Cars, computers, watches, woodworking, firearms, whatever. Take a long road trip. Rent a boat or jet ski for a couple hours, etc. If you really enjoy it, keep coming back to it. If not, at least you got to have the experience. Lastly, and the biggest one for me, is stop focusing on what other people think of you. I struggle with this all the time, even now, but I remind myself that they're human just like me. Their opinions aren't any more valuable than my own. If you're out having fun but you're worried that people think it's weird, frick them. You don't need to live to impress them. You only need to impress yourself and do what makes you feel happy. The last one is also the biggest for me. I've started feeling a lot calmer and happier in general when I decided to stop trying to prove myself. I'm living for me, not for anyone else, and their opinion doesn't make a difference to me anymore. My best friend had a near-death experience the other day. The day after we chilled and he told me that little accident made him realize he actually is scared of death because there's so much he still needs to do. Dying right now at the age of 19 would be terrible and excruciating mentally. Dying at the age of 91 when you have a life to reflect on and almost no future is a different story. I guess in my mind there's a time where I will be willing to die. But not until my business here is finished. Edit. I don't know why everyone thinks by saying it would be excruciating mentally that I mean after I die, but I mean the conscious moments of impending death, for however long that lasts. I know this is not true for everyone, but it's my hope and I believe it's possible. I'm scared of death for the same reason. I want so much more from life before it ends. Same here. There's an incredible amount of things I still want to experience, create, and do. I used to have trouble sleeping because I was afraid to miss something. These days, I realize that I shouldn't ever expect my life to be a certain type of way. I should work towards living in whatever way I want. Back in 2016 I was living like crap and also got flooded pretty bad. Like 5 feet of water. I lived inside a tent underneath a porch for 6 months while fixing up the house. Then I said frick it and moved onto a sailboat. Haha, I'm still living on the boat and I'm so happy. Not in the short-term type of happiness, because I figured out about myself and also have a community of people that are kind and will help a neighbor out when times get tough. Death is what makes us all the same, as exactly like the fish in the lake. Just another integral part of this world. I sleep just fine now because I know when I wake up, there are some cool times ahead. Be well, my friend. 5 feet of water wasn't enough, huh? Needed the whole ocean. Seem to be going against the majority here. But yes, what freaks me out is when I think about what comes next and the possibility, or likelihood, of it just being a black nothingness and your life is done. Although I won't feel anything or miss anything, similar to before I was born, the thought still really scares me when I think a lot about it. Just reading this has made my heart beat hard. This thought scares me so much. I try to avoid thinking about it as that's the only way I can cope with it. Insta panic attacks anytime you think about dying is a really neat superpower. Still trying to figure out how to use it other than as a way to stay awake in bed late at night, though. Same here. I don't like the thought of nothing. I need to know. I want to know if there's other life out in the universe, and I want to know if humans will see past their differences and move on to bigger things like exploring the universe. A quote I heard somewhere that went along like this: I was born too early to discover other life forms and too late for exploring the world. Edit. Words and letters. Born just in time to browse dank memes. OMG, this is me. Even as a kid I had panic attacks over this. My mom walking in on me bawling saying I don't want to die at 8. The most significant sentence I relate to in music is by Queen, sometimes I wish I'd never been born at all. What is the flipping point? I am not breeding, so I am therefore pointless. You're not pointless. Have you ever done anything good at all in your life? Even something small like holding a door or giving out a compliment counts. That means you were a positive point in that person's life. Not everything is about passing on your genes and making more humans. I don't know if you're religious or spiritually, but you don't really need that to have a use in life. I've always known I don't want kids. Just something I've always known. But I've never called myself useless either. I do my best to be a positive factor in the lives of those around me. Listening to someone who needs to talk. Helping someone in need. Giving a smile to someone who needs to be reminded things won't always be bad. These are things everyone can do. But even with all that considered, why does life need to have a point? None of us really know what brought us into existence as a species. So ultimately, it's up to us as individuals to decide our own goals in life. If you decide you don't have a real goal, but you just want to live your life, there's both wrong with that either, man. You do you. Holy crap, me too. I remember being in the shower, not even 9, and it just hit me that I would eventually cease to live. My body would rot and no longer think, or feel, or move and fall into nothingness. And I was bawling. Of course my mom just laughed at me. A 7 to 8-year-old sobbing. I don't want to die. Can seem funny to an adult. But I was terrified. Now, I try not to think about it. 20-ish years later and it still hits me, and when it does, I get really depressed. I'm just hoping that if I can live my life as well I can now, I'll be able to accept death when it comes and not be so scared of what may or may not come next. What scares me is the idea of permanent, infinite consequences. It's the idea that once dead, you're never coming back, while time will continue flowing forever. That permanence is what is so terrifying to me. OMG, I'm impressed at the number of people having the same experience as me on that matter. I also had panic attack at night when I was like 5 to 10 thinking about death. It still hits me from time to time, and I think about the fact that no matter what I do in my life I will stop existing and thinking at one point. I hope too that at one point of my life I will be at peace with that idea. My hope is that the feeling will eventually fade as I get older. I'm 23 now, and I can imagine that once in 40 and have doubled my time on this earth I won't care as much. Like there are 80-year-olds who are almost bored of life because they've lived so much of it. Hopefully I get that feeling rather than panicking about my end. Yep, same. The idea of death hit me like a ton of bricks when I was like 10 or something, and I spent the day crying. My parents and sister still make fun of me for it. But honestly I'm still terrified of dying. I'm 23 now and I just try not to think about it. But occasionally I contemplate it when my mind wanders at night in bed, and it can make me sick to my stomach if I let myself go for too long. Edit. My parents comforted me at the time. They poke fun of me now because I'm older and have a much more mature perception of death. And I won't spiral into existential dread at the mention of it. It's one of those remember when things. I grew up in a very loving family and they are by no means cruel and insensitive. I have also been seeing responses about how to deal with the dread. For me, not thinking about it helps, obviously, but I also have 2 immigrant parents who made unbelievable sacrifices to give me everything my sister and I have today. The turning point of my father's life in the United States was when he was at such a low point that he sat on a park bench and contemplated jumping in front of a car to kill himself. I dread the idea of death. But I also know that I am fortunate and privileged enough to have never experienced the desire to want to die, and that helps me a lot. Always when I'm trying to fall asleep, I have to get up and walk around or do something before I can go back to try to sleep because it hits me so hard. Holy moly, this is me too. I was walking down the stairs of my school and the thought came over me and I started crying right then and there when I was around 8. I still had those thoughts up until approximately 13, and they'd always happen late at night. Damn, I guess the scariness of the death set in young for everyone. Same experiences and the same age. I used to shiver when I thought, what if there was no world, basically nothing. I'm so glad I'm not the only one. I would stay up all night and quietly cry, because I was so sure it would be nothing but blackness and thinking. Just endless staring into the void and thinking. This was around 9 or 10. I felt so weird about this for years. This all happened to me too. I was always hoping something like time would go faster. So it would end. It would be a long time. But it would end. And then that's when the idea of eternity struck me. That was probably one of the worst days of my life. This would actually make an interesting study. I've had this conversation with many people and some of them genuinely didn't think about death until they had family and kids. I've had the same thoughts since I was 8 and it still haunts me when I think about it late at night. I was recently diagnosed with cancer and that made me afraid. Funny thing is I never thought I would be, but now I am. I'm mostly afraid of not being able to experience things in my life that I would want to experience. Like marry myself, buy our first home, go to vacation, etc. I'm also afraid what my death would do to my partner and parents. And of course I'm afraid of pain and dying alone in some hospital. So yeah, let's hope I will recover and not have to think about this for another 50-ish years. Yeah, I'm pretty young. I'm sorta in the same boat. I got diagnosed in 2019, a few months before I turned 30. Not a day passes by that I don't think about my mortality. I'm not necessarily afraid of death as much as I am afraid of dying a slow and painful death. Also, I want to live and experience things. I'd like to marry myself, have kids, have grandkids, etc. I asked God for 45 years. 5 short of your 50-ish. I'm not even sure what form he, she, it takes. Or is real, and if my wish will be granted. He, she, it certainly isn't obligated to do anything for me. But it doesn't hurt to ask and I'm not afraid to ask. Here's to hoping we get the time we asked for. Maybe even more. Edit. My most upvoted comment is one about my butt cancer XD. Thank you all for the words of support and encouragement. Thank you for the gold. Hugs. Energy. It's very much appreciated. You'll pull though. Wish the best for you. That's the way to word this question. Yes, I am. I'm not scared of being dead, but I'm very scared of becoming dead. I'm even more scared of nearly dying but surviving with a freaked up brain or something. Same. I'd rather be dead than half dead, in a sense. When you die, at least you're dead. Nobody wants to linger for years or decades waiting for it to finally happen. That's infinitely worse, I know. I wasn't, but now I am because I have more to lose. Same. I used to have the mindset of meh. If it happens, it happens. Now I'm married with 2 young children and the thought of not being around to take care of my family is terrifying to me. Edit. Folks, I get it. I'll look into buying a life insurance policy. Currently, I have good life insurance through my employer. But I know that's likely not permanent. I'll look into it. I swear. Edit 2. Folks, I get it. I know that life insurance is not a replacement for me. That's why it's called a life insurance policy and not a life replacement policy. I would still feel the same about dying. I can feel you. Bro, ask first. Edit said furt by mistake. Not really. I'm more afraid of how I die. I hope I die at age 100 in my bed and not murdered by some bored psychopath. If you could die at 200, with a healthy mind and body, would you prefer that over 100? How about 400, 800, and so on? Not up, but I'll definitely take it. 200 years of healthy mind and body. Why not take it? There's so much crap to do, I don't get why anyone would want to go. Hell, I'll take 1,000 years if I can get it. I am, because I don't know what will happen after. Thank Thanks for watching LWIAR, the best of recent r/AskReddit submissions and comments. If you like this video, check out LWIAR too, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.